Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Lexi. I'm the director of the Cinematique Theater.
I'm Glenn. I am the theater manager.
And although our auditorium is closed for the time being in the interest of public safety, we are bringing you some film recommendations. All the films that we'll be highlighting are accessible through Amazon Prime, Hulu, or Netflix.
Otherwise known as the Big Three.
And so we hope that you will enjoy these films from your couch and engage us in a discussion by leaving a comment or suggesting another film that you would like to see us discuss. So let's jump into our first film, and that is Edgar G. Ulmer's 1945 film noir, Detour. And Glenn, why did we pick Detour for our first movie?
Well, we picked Detour because it is an excellent film that is available on Amazon Prime. It is also available on YouTube. And if you shell out the money, it's available on the Criterion channel, where there's plenty of wonderful features to accompany it. But besides that, we chose it because Detour was slated to be our March Film School Friday. And for those who might not be familiar, Film School Friday is a program we rolled out last month in the interest of getting people in the community together to enjoy either classic cinema or maybe underrepresented cinema. And it's my opinion that Detour falls in the middle of both. It's a classic by design, yet it doesn't have a very large audience. It's more known among niche film fans. So yeah, had you seen Detour before we kind of rolled out the program, before doing this video?
I had not seen Detour before we planned to bring it in for Film School Friday. But once we had programmed the film, that's when I watched it. And I enjoyed it so much that I watched it again before recording this. And I loved it. I wasn't super familiar with the film noir genre, the Poverty Row films. This was a great entry point for me because I could see what these films had to offer.
Sure. It is worth noting that this is kind of, in my experience, the penultimate film noir, particularly in that Poverty Row genre, and it almost functions like a caricature of what the genre is, but it does so in a manner that's not too pastiche, and it's not it's a quality film. And I think a lot of that is credited to, I know that's credited to the director Edgar G. Ulmer. Now, for those who might not be familiar first with Poverty Row, it's a term given to studios that kind of originated the B movie. A lot of these films were shot on minimal budget in about a week's time, and from there they would play as the second feature in a double bill, with the first feature being from a more prominent studio like an MGM comes to mind. Now, for Ulmer was a German immigrant who came to the States to make films and didn't have too much luck in doing so outside of working under these Poverty Row. Now, he did have a shot at MGM, which he blew by engaging in an affair with one of the executive's wives. And from there, he kind of was resigned to this abject filmmaking, if you will.
He was a bit blacklisted.
Yeah,
after that.
Sure. And that kind of speaks to a lot of the worldview we see in Detour. It's kind of this idea of life is hard, and the cards you get dealt, no matter what, probably aren't going to take you in the right direction. And it's notable that in a lot of this, you see his German expressionist pedigree. He famously claimed to have worked on Metropolis, though this hasn't been substantiated, which is actually, if you're wondering about our wacky lighting scheme, we tried to make it as expressionist as possible for this video. So what were some of your thoughts on the movie? What were some things that stuck out?
Well, I was really impressed with the set designs that they were able to pull off given the constraints of their budget.
A lot of fog.
Yes, most notably, there's a scene in the beginning where Al, played by Tom Neal, is walking with his sweetheart Sue, and really all you can see is fog. You're getting a sense of them being in New York, and then they cut to that Riverside street sign. So very impressed with that. There's maybe just 3 other sets that they use, being in the hotel room, in the diner, or driving in the car. So it's just very impressive what they were able to accomplish there.
Yeah, and speaking of such accomplishment, 2 moments that kind of always stick out to me is that beginning in the first 5 minutes where he's in the diner and the coffee mug, which I'll leave it to whoever goes out and watches this movie to pick up on. Then beyond that, when he's having one of his dreams of Sue, you see you see that she is performing in a nightclub, and one of the most striking images, you have her sort of to the left of the shot, then behind her is this shadowy projection of the band playing behind her. The interesting thing there, now that I'm thinking about it, is sort of how you see this object of desire through his lens, with the removal of the possibility of any man, since it is his intention to go to the West Coast to marry her. From there, we should probably talk about the characters, because there's 2 central players throughout all of this. There's there's 2 other main characters who were billed in all of the promotional materials, but they don't really stack up quite like Al Roberts, played by Tom Neal, and Vera, played by Ann Savage. So we have to talk about Ann Savage, probably. So what was your takeaway?
I was completely captivated by Ann Savage. I knew that this was her more notable role, one that she's probably most famous for, would you say?
Well, you had informed me she toured with the film until she died.
She did. She made live appearances at screenings of Detour pretty much up until the year that she died. You could tell she was very proud of this film.
And it was even like the other day I mentioned to you that I'm nervous to watch her perform in other things, just based on just how great of a performance this is. She's chewing up scenery the whole time. She really comes into herself within the first couple seconds she's on screen. Yeah,
when we meet her, we learn a lot about her almost immediately. She is hitchhiking just like Al is. You can just tell the desperation that you can see and feel. I was about to say, yeah, it's really painted on her face.
What was it that Al's kind of internal monologue when he picks her up?
He hits the nail on the head. I mean, he barely has spoken one word to Vera, and
hardly looked at her.
Hardly even looked at her. But he feels that he has her all figured out, and we hear him say, "Man, she looked as if she'd just been thrown off the crummiest freight train in the world. Yet, in spite of this, I got the impression of beauty, not the beauty of a movie actress, mind you, or the beauty you dream about when you're with your wife, but a natural beauty, a beauty that's homely because it's so real."
And just what a line.
You can tell. I mean, this was adapted from a novel, but you can tell the author, when writing this, he must have had somebody specific in mind.
Sure. No matter which auteur you're looking at, be it the novelist or the director, there is definitely that injection of it's almost like this film is an open wound of a movie. And with Tom Neal, you sense the desperation that we'd imagine Ulmer was feeling, maybe even while making this movie. Just this sort of, the way you watch his character ebb and flow throughout, as far as leagues of optimism hitting or missing, and the resignment that we see at the end of the film is really what makes it all hit. There's because this movie is told in flashback, there's, you're experiencing him as it's reliably put, because it's his narration, so you can't invest too much in his story. I don't think there's much that gives him off to be an unreliable narrator, but there is definitely, it's just a first person point of view. Now, just how it's bookended with this sense of aggression versus this resignment after he gets his tail off his chest is something that really stuck out to me. But yeah, it's we would recommend you watch Detour. There's plenty of ways to access it. Did you have any comments you wanted to add in, or?
We hope that you'll watch the film. We hope that you'll talk back with us, leave a comment, send us a message at Cinematique Theater on Facebook, on Instagram, and certainly leave us any suggestions for films that you'd like to see, or a certain genre that you would like to see us cover.
Yeah, I have plenty of, I know a lot of the more boutique distributors are putting their catalogs online as fast as they can amidst all of the social distancing, and my Amazon feed particularly is just loaded with just the wackiest films or kind of more fun horror films. But yeah, we'll be active on social media probably more than we ever have been. We're still operating loosely. We're open for lunch Monday through Fridays, where people can get takeout from 12 to 2, yeah?
Yeah, 12 to 2, you can call ahead to order. We're accepting credit card payments only for the time being, but we hope that you'll stop in, pick up some lunch, chat with us, and check out some of the films that we'll be highlighting in the next few weeks.
And if you're not on our email list, we are rolling out some virtual screening rooms through companies like Music Box and Kino Lorber. So there's definitely other avenues to enjoy films that we would have brought in otherwise, beyond this sort of streaming thing, given this was kind of just our way of figuring out how to engage with everybody and how to keep on that mission of cinema excellence.
Yes, from a distance.
From a distance.
So we'll have much more programming coming your way, and we hope that you guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Your eyes are blue, your kisses too. I never knew what they could do. I can't believe that you're in love with me.